So this video is for those of you who think you're behind. And I think a lot of us actually feel like we're behind. I feel like that all the time, where I feel like I should be a lot further ahead, or I'm missing out on something. I compare myself with others, or I think, man, I'm now 42 years old. I should be at this stage. I should be doing a lot more. But in reality, this is what I want to tell you, is that when you feel behind, you're actually exactly where you should be. What you're doing is building capabilities, you're building abilities. What you're doing is living the life that you should be doing. So if you don't know me, I am Professor Dave Masek. I'm Associate Professor of Innovation Strategy and Entrepreneurship. And I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There's so many people that help me out that I wanted to pay the favor forward to help you out as much as I possibly can. So it's really incredibly important to remember when you feel behind, you're exactly in the moment. You're where you actually should be. And there might be reasons for why you're at that moment or why you're actually doing this thing, but really think about, this is what life actually is. We have these sort of fantasies in our mind of where we should be and what we can actually do. But in reality, we live life like we do right now with the world around us. And I think you have to appreciate that you are at the moment where you should be, and you can do a lot of stuff at that moment, what you're doing at this moment, or the things that you're doing at this moment, and not lose fact of this fantasy that we sort of project on ourselves or think about, where we should be further along, or we're comparing ourselves to others. We're missing out on a lot of details and nuances that you should start thinking about when you start getting to that moment. So maybe you're comparing yourself to some fantasy of where you should be based on what you thought you should be doing from 10 years ago. Well, you might have not understood how hard it is to do certain things or to accomplish certain things. This is a well-known, it's called the planning fallacy. It's well-known sort of behavioral bias that we have. We don't realize how long and how difficult things actually are. And you might be comparing yourself to other people, and you might be thinking, wow, man, these people are doing this and doing that. But what you don't realize is that they have some hidden features or traits or whatever resources available that you probably don't have access to. And it might take some time to actually get access to those things. It might take a lot of work to build those capabilities before you can actually get there. Building those resources, getting access to resources where things open up and it becomes a lot easier to do something, or building some skill that you have, that takes a lot of time and a lot of work. I want you to take a moment and think about how long it actually takes to learn how to speak. Now, a lot of you probably think that, and especially if you haven't had any kids, you probably think that it takes like a year to learn how to speak. Once you have kids and you take a step back and you look to see how everybody sort of develops and they move at their own progress, you realize it takes 5 to 10 years before you're actually pretty fluent with speaking, where you're not making a lot of gaffes and a lot of things, making a lot of mistakes when you're speaking. It takes a lot of work, and that's just speaking. Thinking about walking, for example, before you become very confident where somebody can push on you and you don't fall over. I mean, that takes years to actually do that. And these are basic human skills that we have, that most of us have. They're very, very basic human skills that we have. And we forget how much work and how much effort it actually took. And that is every single day trying to do that thing. And so remember, the fantasy of building something or getting to a moment in your of where you want to go, it is just a fantasy at this moment. I'm not saying discount it, but realize that these things take 10 years. They take multiple decades to get to something that you think is really important in your life. So before you give up on yourself because you feel like you're behind, And that's where most of us actually feel, is we compare ourselves with others, or we compare ourselves with this sort of fantasy where we think we should do. We often end up giving up because we think that we're too far behind, we're never going to get there, and then we just lose faith in ourselves. But if I can just implore you that it just takes that incremental step, and that's where I want you to get focused on, is not that fantasy of what things are going to be like. Because once you get there, it doesn't change. Life is the same. What you should be getting at is this incremental step, day in and day out, where it becomes boring, and you realize this is what life is about. And as you do those steps, as you move forward, as you do the next step, the next little step, things actually start happening. But what you need to do is remove yourself from that fantasy of where you should be going or what you should be doing. But come back to where you are at this moment and really enjoy the life that you actually have, and enjoy the grind. Enjoy the fact that you're actually working on something, or it's difficult. Enjoy the fact that it is a blessing to be able to do a lot of these things. Once you take a step back and you start realizing that what you're doing at this moment is a privilege that a lot of people can't do. You know, things like going to graduate school, going to college, doing something like being on YouTube, for example, or having a great job. In the great job, you're working on Wall Street, and it feels like a grind at this moment, and you're trying to build something, or you're an entrepreneur and you feel like you're lost and you can't get there. These are privileged positions, and we have to realize that you're absolutely privileged. Not everybody gets that opportunity. Not everybody can do those things and get to the moment where you can keep taking those steps forward. So appreciate the fact that you're absolutely privileged, and be very grateful that you're privileged, but at the same time, realize that this world is amazing, and you just have to simply look around and appreciate what you're doing at this moment, and appreciate the fact that that grind is what it's about. It's not about that fantasy of where you're going to. It's actually what you're doing at this moment, of the amazing stuff that you're doing at this moment, that you actually are doing good things. And that is life. So with that, give me a thumbs up. And I just want to encourage you one last time, if you're feeling like you're going to give up, you're feeling like you're going to quit, just keep going. Taking that step forward, take a look around, enjoy this. This is a really remarkable and amazing time that you're in. So with that, give me a thumbs up. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.